Welcome back to Chapter 10. This is the last video of the POUR method covering robust guidelines. The first one is compatible. The W3C states, maximize compatibility with current and future user agents, including assistive technologies. Now don't forget that user agents can also be search engines and different browsers. The first thing you want to do is validate for compatibility, such as opening and closing tags. Attributes in tags should not be repeated. ID attributes should be unique to the page, and header cells should be used appropriately. Now, just because this course is making you validate your code is not just because this course is making you validate your code. We're trying to get you into a practice so you can validate your code for compatibility purposes, but also in case you need to pass your code off to someone else, they know the code they're working with is actually valid versus having to go back and try to decode what you coded. When it comes to testing for accessibility, you can use different tools available, such as the ones available at w3.org/wai/er/tools. To give you a good example about this list, this has a lot of different tools you can use, but probably the most popular one is this 508 checker, which allows you to check to see if your website, which is available on the web, not just the one you're designing on your desktop, is in compliance with Section 508. You can also learn how to become more 508 compliant across your entire company or organization. Now there are new tools added to this every single day, so you may want to check back and see what tools have been added. Additionally, you can go through and see what the different tools are to test your website to make sure that the items on that website are appropriately accessible via the guidelines. You also have the Wave tool, and the Wave tool is available at wave.webaim.org. WebAIM stands for Web Accessibility in Mind, and this allows you to check online versions of your websites to see once they have actually been used and accessible methods. You can also check the accessibility of any local pages before uploading it to a web server. However, there are some limitations when it comes to the tools. Don't rely on the tools for 100% of the accessibility issues. To give you a good example, the title tag or the alt attribute may pass the tool test because it exists, but not because it is relevant. Yes, computers are smart, but they're not this smart. And existence does not mean accessible. So you want to make sure that a human is going through, maybe you, maybe somebody else, and making sure that the information there is relevant to the item that is being represented. It also may check for readability, but not spelling or correctness. So it may also check to make sure that the items in the page are readable based on a grade level, but it may not check to see if the word to is spelled T-O or T-O-O. So you want to make sure that that as well is checked based on a human basis. Some success criteria. The accessibility compliance is not a pass-fail. There are different levels of conformance across the 4 principles and the 12 guidelines of the POUR concepts. There are AAA, AA, and A. AAA is the highest and single A is the lowest. Why they use an A-based system, I do not know. But this gives you a good idea about how something can conform to the guidelines put in place. You can visit this website right here, w3.org/tr/understanding-wcag20/conformance.html to learn more. Now, working towards accessibility, you have a few items, including these 11 steps, to make sure that the items you're developing can actually be accessible. First, you want to allow users to skip sections that are repeated on every page, such as the heading, the navigation, and maybe even some contact information. You want to provide caption and/or transcripts for audio and video segments. You want to design to standards. Now this is a little flexible when it comes to both corporate and personal ones, and even government ones. The government has their standards. Your corporation or organization may have their own standards, and then you may have your own standards when it comes to designing. Now, this deals with accessibility, not actual design concepts. Do not rely on color alone to convey meaning. Again, if someone can't see red, then don't say that all the red fields are required. Ensure that all fields have labels, so that way anyone navigating it can easily know what information is needed and how to fill out the necessary fields. Ensure forms implement appropriate validation and field types. Again, don't rely on the client-based browser system to check to see if the email they provided you is even an email at all. The browser may not actually determine the email field and therefore will rely on a text-based input. So you want both a client and a server-side validation to make sure that all the information being submitted is correct. You want to ensure links make sense out of context. So if someone shares the link from your page somewhere else, you want to make sure that the phrase "click here" isn't stated in an easy out of context situation. You want to make sure that the links being presented are also presented in a way that's making the content they're providing understandable to all. You want to ensure text is written clearly at about a 9th grade reading level. We're not saying put in a bunch of goo goo gaga stuff, but based on that, you should understand what information is necessary and don't use any unnecessary technical jargon unless it is absolutely necessary for the web page you're designing. Provide appropriate alternative text for images. Again, if someone's using a text-based browser and cannot load the image, or the image cannot be found, then you want to make sure that the image has the appropriate alternative text so that it can be loaded in place of the image. You want to provide appropriate document structure by using headings, lists, and HTML5 semantic elements. And last but not least, you want to provide headers, or TH, for dated tables. Once you go through a few accessibility practices, including the Code With Me videos, you'll have a better understanding about how these 11 steps can help you develop a better accessible website. That's it for this video. We have one video left in this chapter. If you have any questions about this or anything else in Chapter 10, please let me know via email or Twitter, and I'll get back to you with the best possible answer.